Hi everyone, this is Carla. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you stopped by today. I've got 5 projects that I'd like to share with you. 2 of them are pretty simple and 2 of them were kind of trial and error, but I think they turned out just fine. Hopefully you'll get some inspiration from these projects and you might want to try them for yourself. So let's get started. I thrifted this little kind of a wooden teapot, and at first I thought I was going to use some of those Prima redesigned little bunnies on there, but then I thought, oh, there's not that much to attach them to, so I went with Plan B. So on Plan B, I took the IOD Trimmings 1 mold, and I casted some borders that I put around the top and around the bottom. Then I took their frames mold, and I took the oval frame and I thought that would look nice on the front. So I used air dry clay and my tight bond glue and attached that to the front. And then while I was off, before I put that on, I took some Annie Sloan chalk paints called Antoinette. I'd had that in my stash, and painted the whole little wooden teapot, and I really like that color. And then I decided to use some of the Fusion French eggshell. I just love Fusion paint. I know I keep saying that, but I just discovered that, gosh, a few months ago. I didn't have any retailers close to me that used that paint, or sold that paint rather, and so I got some in an order, and gosh, I've just fallen in love with it. It just goes on so smooth and you don't have to seal it. What could be better than that, right? So here I am for painting the spout, painting all the trim, painting the handle. And after I get that all painted, I took a little bit of vintage lace and just painted over the oval center. Dried that. Now I'm going to take this decoupage paper. I've had this since last year, and I'm not really sure where I got it. I'm sure it was probably from Etsy somewhere. Taking DIY's liquid patina, I'm going to use that as my decoupage medium. So I misted that before I put it on. And now I'm applying the decoupage medium over the decoupage paper rather. Now after that is dried, I'm going to take some of Sweet Pickins dark oil and go around all the trimmings. And I eventually go on everything. It just looked better. I think when everything had that little bit of aging on it, made it blend a lot better. And after I got that dabbed off pretty well, I went ahead and went over the rest of the little teapot with the dark oil. Now I'm going to take Pink Couture's Crackle Mediums. It's a step 1 and a step 2 process. So I'm going to apply the step 1 over the decoupage area of the little birds. Gonna let that set for about 30 minutes until it's not completely dry, but just a little bit tacky. Then you go over it with step 2. And after I've applied step 2, I let it dry, and now I'm taking a little bit of that dark oil again by Sweet Pickins, and I'm going over that to see if I can get some of that crackle to show through. And I did get some crackle. I think that looks really neat. I like the way that turned out. And this is the finished product. Now for this project, I had these eggs in my stash from last year. I think they got them on sale from Hobby Lobby at the end of the season. They had the white paintings on them, but I sanded that off because it was raised a little bit and I wanted it more smooth. So after I got that all sanded and cleaned off, I'm taking Annie Sloan's Antoinette chalk paint and I'm painting those. It's a real pale pink color. Now I'm going to take, this was from Christmas, the Christmas release of IOD, and it's called Bibelots or Biblos, or nobody really knew how to pronounce it, but it's one of those, I think. So I added the air dry clay to that mold, and I'm making 2 of those. And now I'm taking the olive crest dye. I'm going to take one of those flourishes in there, and I'm using that to kind of look like a base for this egg to sit on. I'm making 2 of those, and we'll be applying those at the base of each of those air dry clay egg molds, or frame molds, I guess. So I'm going to try to kind of shape those around at the bottom, pulling them out just a little bit, but it kind of pulls away from that, but that's not a problem. We can just fill that in with a little bit of paint. I'm going to add my Tite Bond glue, get those glued onto the base. There I was trying to maybe pull the bottom out a little bit to make it look more of an egg shape rather than just an oval. But it kind of had a tendency just to kind of squeeze back in. I'm gonna take a wet cloth and I'm trying to clean off some of that glue, although it will be painted over. Now I'm taking some heirloom paint by Fusion, and I'm going to paint around the little, what I'm calling the egg stand. And I'll be painting around the trim on both of these projects. I think this is such a pretty color, and it really goes well with that pink color from Annie Sloan. Now I'm going to take the Annie Sloan and that little rim inside the frame. I'm going to paint that pink, although I really think my decoupage eggs are going to cover most of that outside. But just in case, I thought we'd go ahead and make that pink. I'm going to take some Victorian lace by Fusion and paint the inside of the ovals. And after that's dry, I'm going to be using these little Easter eggs. I have these in my stash from last year. Again, I probably got them from Etsy. I had cut them apart so I couldn't see the company who made them on the bottom. I'm going to use my DIY liquid patina as my decoupage medium. I'm going to spray
2:02 p.m.
the back of my decoupage paper and fit those in. Oh, that is such a pretty print, and just really, I don't know, came to life after it got wet and I put it on there. It's really a pretty little Easter egg decoupage paper. Do the same thing. Put my decoupage medium, the liquid patina. I'm gonna kind of press in all around the edges so that paper will get down in those little grooves. And it doesn't fit perfectly, but we go around that with some other things and it will be just fine. There's always room for touch-ups, right? I always have to go back and touch up a little here and a little there. Now, I decided, instead of having that pink and going back with pink, I've got some Waverly chalk paint, and it's called Cashew, and it's just a very, very creamy, almost yellow creamy color, and I thought that looked really pretty on there. So I put some of that around the frame to frame in that decoupage egg, and then I'm going to paint it on the little egg stand at the bottom. Now this is one of the projects I said that it was a little bit of trial and error, so let's get through this part and then we'll see what I decide to do next. Do you ever change your mind right in the middle of something and think, that's really not the vision I had, so we're gonna try something different? Well, that's what we do with this project. So I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, I think it needs something else. So we're gonna do the crackle steps again with paint couture, the step 1 and step 2. I'm gonna put step 1 over the whole thing and let that dry and get tacky. And after we do that,
thank you very much for giving us a call. Is this Carla?
I'm sorry, my phone went off on my watch. I don't know what made that happen. But anyway, back to what we're doing here. We've got step 1, and as I said, when that dries into a tacky finish, then we go and we put on step 2. And after step 2, we're gonna dry it and see if we can get some of that crackle to come out. And now I'm looking at it thinking, I put some of that dark isle on it, and to me, it's looking kind of dingy. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some Paint Couture's French metallic paint, or French antique, I can't really read what that says there. It's a real pretty color, and I'm putting on that, and I'm thinking, okay, okay, I'm kind of liking it, but there's something that I just don't feel right about it. I don't know. Seems like the more I'm doing, it's like, I'm not sure about this, but I keep putting that on. And when that dries, I think, okay, I'm going to take some of this. It's kind of like Rub and Buff, but it's a gold metallic wax. So I think I'm going to put that around the edges. And I kind of like that. I thought, okay, that's looking better. Put it all the way on the edges. And then I took some Folklore gold metallic paint. I decided to paint the outside edges with the gold metallic paint. Well, as I was doing that, I got a little carried away, and I just thought, ooh, that's looking better. I'll just put it over the whole thing. Well, when I put it over the whole thing, I don't know about you, but I thought, that's a little bit much, and I thought it was kind of looking a little dingy, a little on the dark, dingy side. I mean, the way the light's shining on it, I don't know if you can really see how it looks when I'm just looking at it, but even on there, I wasn't sure. So I went back to Waverly chalk paint with the cashew. And I thought that just kind of brightened it up a little bit. So I went over that, and I know my crackle doesn't show in there, but it really didn't show that much on the other one anyway. It does show a little bit on the decoupage piece. So this is the way I left it. And I'm still debating if I should go back and maybe put a little more gold rub around the edges. But I like that better as I lightened it up. Tell me what you think. I think it looks really nice. And you know, I'm just amazed at how soft the image came out, because it really didn't look that soft when I first put it on. And really the only thing I put over that was the crackle medium. So I don't know, maybe that made it turn really soft. This was really simple. I thrifted this at an estate sale. It's just a little picture frame. And I thought it was only like $3 or something. Had never been used, so I just traced out a piece of black cardstock. And then I took, excuse me, to clear my throat, one of the frames from the gilded petite ornaments from the IOD spring release. And so I took the edge of the transfer tool that they provide for you, and I'm just going over the part where I want that to come off. I slipped that back a little bit to see how it was doing, and I was really liking the way that it was turning out. Because you do want to just try and stay on the part that you want to transfer. Okay, so I'm lifting that off, and I take my finger and just kind of rub over the places where I had rubbed down just to make sure that was stuck really well. And that came off beautifully. I mean, it looks so pretty. I'm just amazed at the detail you can get from that, and it really actually turns out. This little bee I had in my stash, I had picked it up from a retailer that sold transfers and paints, kind of a flea market type place. And I had that in my stash, and I thought that looks really cute on there. So I got that rubbed on. Then all I had to do was put my frame back together. Now when I put my frame back together, excuse me, this piece wouldn't fit back in there. I don't know why, because it really was not that thick of a piece of cardstock. But anyway, we put the back in, slid it down, turned it over, and I love it, the detail. Now, when you see this at the end of the video, I did go back and do like some rub and buff gold metallic wax around the frame itself, and I really think it made it stand out a little better. Now this little basket I found at Goodwill. It was only $1.59, and I happened to be there on a 25% off sticker day. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to do anything with it, but I thought, yeah, I think it has pretty good bones. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. This is a little tag that I'm taking some of the Cashew Waverly chalk paint and just kind of dabbing it on in kind of a rough way. I don't really want it to be all in there all the way or to look perfect. Want it to look kind of weathered and worn. And I'm drying that. And now I'm taking a little square of drop cloth. And this little transfer is from the Prima Redesign selection that came out last spring. So I'm taking this design and I'm going to transfer that onto the little piece of drop cloth. Actually, I have never done this before. I know it's been out there, you know, putting a little piece of cloth on your paper with either a stamp or transfer on it, or on your basket rather. And so I just wanted to try it. It's, you know, not new, but it's a little new to me. So I just wanted to give it a shot and see how it turns out. Now, what I did do is I did take some Mod Podge fabric sealer to put over the transfer. I just happened to have that in my stash, so I thought I'm going to go ahead and do that because I know that transfer could get you know, rubbed off pretty easily. Now, it was pretty thick because it's been a while since I've used it, so I did add some water to kind of liquefy it a little more. Then I'm going to take my brush and just put that over the transfer, so hopefully that will seal it in and it won't have a tendency to rub off. Now that's going to take a little while to dry, and in fact when I add it to the basket it still is a little bit wet. Now with this, I don't know if you've seen it's tapeology, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, pop up on your feed sometime, little transfers or little things you can, you know, do for crafts. But I had ordered some of those, and it was a really nice selection of wildflowers and some little birds and butterflies, and so I thought that would be cute to put a little tag on my basket. So I'm adding this little bird, and then I'm going to add these 3 little florals to put on there with my little bird. I'm sipping on some hot blueberry tea now, so maybe that will help my throat a little bit. Excuse me, sometimes that just happens. I thought these turned out really pretty with that little bird. This looks like he's kind of nestled up in there. And then I have these little block letters again. They hook together so you can get things pretty even with them. So first I'm gonna try this copper ink and see if I think it's gonna be dark enough, and it is. I didn't really want black, and I don't want it to just, you know, jump out at you. I wanted it kind of subtle. So I like that. And then I decided we need to put some little florals on the back. So I cut out these gladiolas. That's pretty springy. And I got this little blue butterfly to go with it. So I'm going to place that on there and rub that on. Then we'll add our little butterfly. And because this is chalk paint and these are transfers, we're going to use some liquid patina to seal this in case it should get wet. We don't want the chalk paint to reactivate, and we don't want the transfers to rub off. So we'll just put a coat of liquid patina on there, and then we won't have to worry about that. We're going to let that dry. I'm gonna put my little heat tool on this piece of drop cloth again for the transfer, and we're gonna get ready to put that onto the basket. Now, I've used this before in some of my videos. I love, love, love this tape, and I tell you, I have never had a problem with anything coming off once you stick it on with this tape. And I didn't want to cut another hole in my big tape, so I'm just going to use some of my, this is 1/4 of an inch, and I've got more, but I keep forgetting to get it out of my drawer on the other side of the room and get it over here. I've got to do that. So I'm just gonna remove the backing from the tape. This is where I love my little pokey tool. It is so handy. As you see, I use it a lot. And as I said, the basket, I just thought it had pretty good bones. You know, it's a natural wood, and the green going through it, I don't think I could have helped it out much by trying to put paint all over it. So I just left it as is in its natural state. And then I'm going to take my Cabin Creek crinkly ribbon here. It's actually seam binding, crinkle seam binding, and I get it off Etsy. I love it, love it, love it. And I'm going to take 2 colors here to put this little tie together for the tag. There you've got your little basket, just very simple and very cute. You can put flowers in that, be very pretty, or you could put a potted plant. I think it turned out really sweet. Now these 2 little framed boxes I picked up at Dollar Tree. I've had them in my stash for quite some time, and I thought, you know, I need to do something with these. I didn't really know for sure what I was gonna do, but I took them out, and I'm taking, let's see, this must be the Chateau paint by Fusion. Little samples of that. And I'm going to paint the inside and the outsides with this Chateau Fusion paint. Now for the inside of the box, I'm going to use this mold that I got off Amazon. It's a little rope mold, but and those things at the top, it took me a while to figure out what those are. Those are the knots for the rope, but I didn't use those. I'm just taking my air dry clay, making a little worm, putting it in the mold, and I'm going to make this trim like the rope mold to go all the way around the inside of both of my little framed boxes. Now, after I have that in, I use this mold. It's called Dewdrop Pond, I believe. And here I went ahead because I painted the frogs with carriage house green, and I painted the rope around for the border. I painted those bayberry. These are both by Fusion. And the inside, I painted that with Tapestry Fusion paint. And I decided I didn't really like the twine on the back because I can see these as probably shelf sitters. I mean, you could hang them. They didn't come with a hanger on the back, but I think I could see those more as shelf sitters. Now I'm going to take Fusion's Coal Black. I'm going to paint the outside and go all the way around that. See, this is where I kind of had another trial and error. At first I thought I was going to go for the very light outside, and I had actually painted around the frog with black, and I thought, no, I don't want to do that. So I went back and painted over it with the tapestry fusion paint. Trial and error. Sometimes things aren't coming together quite the way you had envisioned it, so you can go back and change it out, which is what I did with these. And after I got that, I wanted to go around the edges with black. So when the edges were painted, I knew, okay, I can't leave these frogs green. We've got to do something else with these frogs. So I took out my Modern Masters oxidizing paint, the copper and the bronze, and I went over each frog with the bronze first. I got these paints off of Amazon, Modern Masters. Even just painting them bronze made such a difference. A little bit of that green kind of showing through. See, even that looks pretty nice, but you just have to wait and see the magic that happens with these little frogs. In fact, this inspired me to make more of these little frogs. And do you remember the IOD molds that had the mushrooms and the little fairy house doors and things like that? I think this medium would be perfect for some of those molds. So we're gonna add just a little bit of copper in there, and I have never done this before, so I'm gonna be surprised, just like you, at the way it turns out. And it's such a small surface that I had to be careful not get carried away and cover up more than I really wanted to, because I did want that bronze to still come through. Now we're gonna let that completely dry. And when it's completely dry, you come back in and you put another wet coat on it. Now I'm trying to get some of the same places, but I know, it's overlapping and it's okay. Frogs are kind of muddled colors, some of them anyway. So now I'm taking my bronze. This is the oxidizing paint. And while it's still wet, we're going to take the patina aging spray, and I have it in green. And this is also from Modern Masters, and I got it on Amazon. And I'm getting a little worried. I had ordered blue and it did come in. I was going to try that with the green, but like I said, the surface is so small that I think I was kind of getting enough on there with the green, and it started kind of running down, and I was like, oh boy, this is not going to be good. But then I just took a little piece of paper towel and kind of pushed it up in there, and it absorbed all that so well. It didn't even really stain on there. Of course, I always go back and touch up anyway, but I was real pleased that that paper towel just kind of absorbed all of that excess that was rolling off of the little frogs. And now we're going to dry it. and see the magic happen. You can kind of see it now, but when we get to the end of this, and I show you the end video after this had sat all night, oh my goodness. I hope you'll be inspired, because I'm even inspired to do some more things like this. I think it's perfect on these little frogs. You can see that green kind of showing through. But it gets even better than that. So now I thought the rope on the inside, it was just like too bland. I needed something to kind of pop. So I went back with my copper paint and I just kind of brushed over that. I would download the paint off so I didn't get too much on. I just kind of wanted a hint of it to go around to make it stand out. As you could see, there was kind of some black paint that was an overspill on there. And I went back and I touched all that up at the end of the video. Look at that. Look how that patina came through. Don't those look great? My neighbors have a little pond, and every spring, well, it's a koi pond with a little fountain. Every spring the peepers come. I can't wait for the peepers. And here are all the projects that we did today. And look at the bee. You can see where I put the gold around the frame a little bit.